Passion. All right. Hello and welcome. We're so excited to have you all here for our second week of Winter Career Quest. My name is Ariel Pizzini, and I'm part of the Careers and Professional Development team here at WGU. If this is your first time joining, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. This session is part of Career Quest, which is our month-long webinar series where we bring together students, alumni, recruiters, and industry leaders to share insights and opportunities. It's my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Nikila Gibson. Nikila is a purpose-based entrepreneur and community development strategist, building businesses where impact and excellence go hand in hand. She is the founder of LAVE Wash, a premium laundry service that positions sustainability as an extension of self-care, dignity, and health, and Tiny Town Solano, an immersive learning venture designed to cultivate curiosity and lifelong learning in children. Through her work with academic beginnings, Nikila develops research-informed frameworks that support mission-driven founders and community-centered enterprises. She is completing her BS in psychology at WGU, where she was honored with the 2025 WGU Community Impactor Award for her leadership and measurable impact. Nikila brings strong system lens to entrepreneurship shaped by regional economic development work across Solano County and the Bay Area, including equity-centered business and investment initiatives. She has also been recognized as California State Senate Solano County's Woman of the Year for her sustained commitment to purpose-driven leadership. At the core of Nikila's work is a simple philosophy: the strongest businesses are built by design, where purpose is the operating system, not the market strategy. And with that, I'll pass the mic over to Nikila. Nikila, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikila Gibson. I build purpose-based businesses and learning environments rooted in dignity, care, human development. Today, we'll be exploring why the future of business isn't extraction and why it's built on ecosystems. So let's frame the new era. We can get our slides up. So the future of entrepreneurship built on meaning, identity, and impact. Building purpose. Yep. Okay. So pause here. So for most of the 20th century, businesses were built on extraction. They extract attention, they extract labor, they extract resources, and they extract profit. This is the old model. Next slide. So this made sense in an industrial economy where scale, efficiency, standardization were rewarded, but humans don't live industrial lives anymore. We live psychological lives, digital lives, identity-driven lives. And for a long time, the dominant question was simple: how much value can we take before the system breaks? But that era is ending. The emerging model is about generating value, not just financial value, but human value, social value, environmental value, psychological value. So people are gravitating towards purpose-based businesses because they're searching for coherence in a world that felt chaotic for decades. Institutions have eroded trust, systems feel impersonal, and speed has replaced care. So sociology tells us that institutions weaken, that as institutions weaken, people search for meaning elsewhere. Religion's done this, neighborhoods have done this, extended families used to do this, but today, often brands fill that gap. In this environment, brands no longer are vendors. They've become companions. They signal identity, places people go to feel alignment rather than exploited. This is why people are not just buying products, they are buying alignment. They want coherence between what they value and what they support. Business is responding to human evolution, not the other way around. Next slide. So this isn't a marketing shift. It's a psychological one. Purpose-based businesses rise because humans are hungry for meaning, belonging, and trust. And in this new economy, trust is the most valuable currency that there is. What we're really talking about here isn't entrepreneurship alone, it's anthropology. It's how humans adapt their systems when the old ones no longer serve the way that we live. So let's define what a purpose-based business is. So a purpose-based business is not one with a mission statement on the wall. It's where the mission is rooted in the system. So next slide. In a purpose-based business, profit is fuel, not the destination. So yes, we want our our purpose-based businesses to be profitable, but that's not the only engine keeping it going. So it keeps the engine running, but it isn't the reason the vehicle exists. The business is designed as an ecosystem where the customer, the founder, and the community all benefit together. No one piece thrives at the expense of the others. Traditional business extract value from labor, customers, and resources. Purpose-based businesses design systems where value circulates. Go to the next slide. And regenerates. So a simple definition of purpose-based business is a purpose-based business is one where purpose and impact are the organizing principles. So they're not just accessories, they're not something you add on afterwards. It's a part of why the business was created in the first place. So the mission shapes decisions, operations, outcomes. Profit is necessary. The business is designed to create measurable human, social, and environmental impact while remaining financially stable. So customers, founders, workers, and the surrounding community all benefit together. So LAVE Wash. LAVE Wash is a laundry pickup and delivery service. We service 3 counties. This is one of my businesses. But LAVE Wash is about stewardship. It's not about just laundry. It's about environmental stewardship in the form of self-care. So you take care of not just your environment home, not just your body environment, but also the environment out in the world. So your surrounding neighborhood environment. So we do neighborhood cleanups. We participate in the water board and things of that nature to advocate for our environmental outside of our home. But it is the main purpose is that we are advocating for environmental stewardship, and that is your self-care. So LAVE Wash, it's not really about laundry. It's about dignity. It's about self-worth expressed through care. It treats environmental stewardship as an extension of your self-care. So what touches your body, what flows through your home, what kind of world your daily routine, what type of world your daily routine supports. That's LAVE Wash. Okay, next slide. So Tiny Town Solano, which is through academic beginnings, is not about play as entertainment. It's about cognitive development disguised as joy, advocacy for childhood curiosity expressed through tinkering, exploration, and learning by doing. Our goal with Tiny Town Solano is for our children to have a space where they are learning through critical thinking and they're getting their cognitive development, and they are doing it through the way that they learn best, which is through play and curiosity. And it's a way to advocate for our children, not just for today, but for their futures and who they will grow into being. So we can go on to the next slide. So these are not businesses in the traditional sense. They are service philosophies incarnated. The product, our services are just the way that we deliver. It's our delivery system. A purpose-based business is one where purpose is the organizing principle. It informs our decisions. Profit, again, is necessary, but it's not the meaning of why we do the work. Go to the next slide. So humans don't choose purpose because of logic. They choose it because of how it makes them feel. So humans don't choose purpose-based brands because they read a white paper on it. They choose them because, again, how it makes you feel. Does it align with their values? So people are drawn to purpose-based uh, businesses because it affirms their identity. They support purpose-based businesses, or supporting purpose-based businesses. They say something about who you are and what you value. It offers emotional safety. It feels less risky to give money to something that reflects your moral compass. People want to participate in a story. They want to feel that their choices matter and that their dollars are not just transactions, but votes for the type of world that they want to exist. Next. Neuroscience backs this up. Humans make decisions emotionally first and justify them logically later. So purpose-based businesses are built on this truth. They speak to the limbic system before the spreadsheet. From developmental psychology, humans seek meaning as soon as basic needs are met. So Maslow got that one right. But modern psychology expands it. Purpose supports autonomy, competence, relatedness, and the three pillars of intrinsic motivation. From the neuroscience perspective, emotion precedes logic in decision making. So the brain evaluates safety, identity, and belonging before they look at cost or convenience. Purpose-based brands activate trust and emotional regulation. And then my, in addition to psychology, but human development is my specialty. So from the human development lens, environments shape behavior. So when people are allowed to explore and develop a stronger executive function, they feel more aligned with their experiences. So this is why Tiny Town matters. This is why LAVE Wash matters. Because purpose works because it's aligned with the psychology. It aligns psychology with external behavior. Next slide. So let's talk about the future of business and the forces that shape it. Okay, so this next decade of business will be shaped by forces that cannot be ignored. Artificial intelligence is going to accelerate productivity while destabilizing identity and labor. Loneliness will continue to rise even as connectivity increases. Communities will fragment. Trust in institutions will continue to decline. And at the same time, a generation is coming of age that will not part with a dollar unless it aligns with their values. Convenience alone is no longer enough. A good example of that is Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's does not have online ordering. Trader Joe's does not offer Uber or Eats or any of the other types of fast ways to get your food. They align with slowing down, taking time to look at your products and discovery. Trader Joe's is actually about discovery. So again, pricing, convenience is no longer enough. Pricing alone is no longer enough. Go to the next slide. Purpose-based businesses will thrive in this landscape because they anchor people back to humanity. They offer grounding in a world that's moving too fast. So when we look at brands, we can go to the next one, like Tom's, Patagonia, Bombas, Ben and Jerry's, and Lush. They're useful not because they're perfect. So we're not asking for perfection. It's because they reveal different expressions of purpose that's done well. So the same root some of them root their purpose in environmental responsibility, others in community care, ethical production, social justice, or mental health advocacy. But what matters is not what their cause is, but how deeply it's integrated. So these companies didn't build a branch and then like decorate them with purpose. It didn't come afterwards. They built the roots first, and everything else grew from there. So Patagonia doesn't just sell jackets. It actively discourages overconsumption. They have a whole, I highly suggest everyone take a look at their website. They have a whole nother part of their website that is all on their purpose and supporting their purpose. So anyway, they actively discourage overconsumption. So this builds trust, and psychologically, it reduces guilt and increases loyalty. Sociologically, it reframes responsibility as collective and not as individual shame. So the earlier Toms showed how narrative and participation could drive loyalty. So later evolution demonstrated a critical lesson. So your purpose must mature. So they've matured over time. Businesses have to listen and adapt and avoid simplistic savior models. So building a purpose-based business isn't about just choosing a generalized topic and saying this is your purpose. But we'll get into more of that later. Bombas integrated dignity into giving. So socks weren't just random donations. They addressed a real researched need. This showed that the purpose was informed by data and not just because it felt good. Ben and Jerry's, they have been very popular in the last couple of years on social media due to their brand voice. But they integrated social values directly into brand voice and policy positions. So this creates identity alignment. People don't just like the ice cream, they like what the company stands for. And Lush. Lush uses transparency and a sensory experience to make their ethics tangible. So purpose isn't abstract. You feel it, you can smell it, and it's in the touch. So it's the senses. So there's multiple ways that you can express your values or your purpose within your brand. These are examples of a few very different ways to do that. So, next. I think I'm a couple slides behind now. Oh no, here we are, perfect. We're right on time. So how do you find your calls? Of course, that's what all of us want to know, right? How do we do this? So purpose it's not invented. You uncover it, you discover it. So this is where many entrepreneurs get lost because they're looking for branding instead of truth. Your cause is not something you choose because it's trendy. It's something you excavate. So with LAVE Wash, I'm a mother of 4, and my oldest daughter had respiratory issues. And within me exploring and discovering things for her, I realized that things within I've always loved nature and trees. I'm always outside. But I discovered that we are not as conscious as I was of the outside environment, bringing her out to the parks and the playgrounds and the green spaces, hiking, all those things. I wasn't as conscious of her internal or inside environment. And it took me to discover or to pull out and excavate this ideology of paying more attention to what's inside, realizing that we're sleeping 8 hours a day minimum, usually, if we're lucky, on our pillowcases, and we're breathing in toxins, things of that nature. So it was discovered. Yeah. So you don't want to just follow the trends. It's not about the slogan, right? It's embedded in the root. When I discovered the toxins and the things that were in our environments, and then me having daughters, I wanted them to understand self-care as well. from that point, I wanted to pass that message on to the world and bring it out beyond me. So it started there and expanded. So some things to think about or to ask yourself as you go throughout your day while you're figuring out your purpose is, what wound did you heal? What gap did you see? What question can you not stop asking yourself? And when you start there, your purpose becomes your compass and it'll guide your decisions. So next slide. Here are some additional questions. So what problem have you personally encountered that the systems have failed to solve? What injustice or inefficiency do you notice that others overlook? What do people consistently ask you for help with? Along that journey, the reason why we did not start with a laundry detergent, even though we are going into that now, is in my conversations with other families, laundry and having that time and that care for themselves was a bottleneck. It was a strain point. So that's why we went that direction. So, what do people consistently ask you for help with? And most importantly, what values are non-negotiable for you? This goes into building your ecosystem. Next slide. So what problem did the system fail to solve for you? I want you guys to think about that. Next slide. So, okay. So purpose, let's talk about the ecosystem. So purpose only matters if it shows up in operations. It shapes who you hire, how you lead. It influences pricing, not just your profit margin. It defines your customer experience, the brand voice, the partnerships you pursue. We've had lots of partnerships from the National Geographic down to the American Heart Association. It defines or determines whether your long-term goals are extractive or regenerative. Next slide. Purpose is not a donation link on a website. It's the architecture of the business itself. So there are multiple ways that purpose can show up in your operations. Purpose shows up in hiring. I just recently had an interview 2 weeks ago about both businesses and purpose-based businesses. And one question I was asked was, what is one of your most challenging things about owning a business? And I thought about it for a second, and then I told them hiring, because sometimes it's challenging to find the people that align with your values and with your mission. And that is the hardest part for me, because our businesses are about care and dignity and caring about the human behind the clothes. And when it comes to Tiny Town, it's about fostering an environment of curiosity and exploration. And you have to find people that are aligned with those missions and those thought processes. So purpose shows up in your hiring. Which is who belongs inside of your ecosystem. Shows up in your pricing. What does dignity cost? In customer experience. So how do people feel when they are interacting with your business? in partnerships, who amplifies your mission. Purpose isn't scalable unless it's operationalized. So it needs to be a part of your operation. So this is where purpose-based businesses quietly outperform traditional ones. We can go to the next slide. When purpose is authentic, values multiply. Customers return. Oh, customers don't just return, they evangelize. They will go out and speak for you. Staff don't just work, they carry your culture. We see this in and out. They're very good at that. I'm in California, so some of these businesses, I suggest you look them up if you're not familiar. The founders, the founder doesn't live in a constant crisis management. They become like a lighthouse, and the system itself is sustainable. It sustains itself. So this work requires honesty. Uh, Virtual signaling is going to kill trust. You don't want to copy someone else's cause because it'll create a hollow brand. Being too broad dilutes your impact. Treating your purpose like decor or like a costume that you put on to perform is going to take away from what you're building. So don't turn your purpose into a martyr because you'll burn out. It needs to be a part of who you are. So when you're searching for your purpose for your brand, really take the time to carve out what is important to you, sustainable for you. And here's the truth that many people avoid. Profitability is moral too. You got to have a profitable business. A business that cannot sustain itself cannot serve anyone long term. So that is okay. We need that. Purpose without discipline is a fantasy, and discipline without purpose is extraction. So a purpose-based business is not a category or a trend, it's a worldview. Purpose-based businesses respond to human need. They create trust in unstable systems. They reduce harm while generating value. And they produce founders who lead with intention instead of reaction. It's a promise to build with intention, a commitment to coherence, a legacy that outlives trends. Purpose-based businesses are not about being louder. They're about being truer. So it is in many ways an economic rebellion wrapped in service or products. It's not a shortcut. Purpose is not a shortcut. It's a commitment, but it's also one of the most resilient paths forward. Purpose-based entrepreneurship builds founders who create ecosystems, not empires. And in the world that we're entering, that may be the most powerful form of leadership that there is. The future doesn't belong to the loudest brand. It belongs to the most grounded one. Thank you.
Fantastic presentation, Nikila. I was writing down just a few of the just tidbits of your experiences and just the insight that you provided. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see the chat. But we have reserved these next few minutes for some Q&A. Let's see here. We just have from Samantha. This is so inspiring, Nikila. You are speaking my language. I'm overflowing with excitement. Do you offer internships?
That is a good question. I currently do not offer internships, maybe in the future, but I am always open for discussion because I do have two businesses, four daughters, and I do a lot within our community because that is part of our purpose and our businesses. So, but I'm always available for email and a quick coffee chat. I'm always
Fantastic. Great. I have a question for you, Nikila.
yeah.
Just with your psychology background, I'm just so curious how like what advice you might have for students that might be interested in leveraging their academic background, even if it's not necessarily business focused. I know we have some MBA students here, but in the beginning of this session, there was someone who shared, that they were a nurse. So I mean, what what do you think they have as an entrepreneurial advantage as someone who's thinking about creating a business?
Yes. So that seems like a multi-part question. First, when you're building a purpose-based business or you're becoming a purpose-based entrepreneur, you are looking at humans. You're looking at people and how you interact with people. So being a nurse or being on the front lines with helping and speaking to the community, that puts you in the perfect position to see the needs that are not being met. Um, there's a whole plethora of different type of backgrounds we can speak on, but a lot of times we choose our career in the beginning. Some of us choose it due to how much money it can be made, and then as we go, we start to look for purpose. As we get older, that's a psychological thing too. And so a lot of times the careers that we're choosing at this stage of our life, there's something in there that you're seeing. You just have to sit down and really kind of think about it, or as you're going through life, like think about that gap because you're choosing that career for a reason. You're choosing that path for a reason. And so what is it within there that what gap are you looking to close? What injustice are you seeing? What service is not being provided, like what is missing that you're seeing there, and then that becomes a part of your purpose. But talking to people, it's all about impact. What impact are you going to leave on this earth? So that's what I hope that answers that question.
Yes, that was fantastic. Thank you. I know that um, just the economy being what it is, I find myself asking those questions just that you've provided during the presentation. What values are non-negotiable? What gaps in the system are you recognizing? I think those are good reflective questions for folks that are interested in exploring, um, where they might fit in their purpose. Um,
And
the
we'll send
other
those questions out because I want to make sure everyone has them so they can reflect on them. I recommend putting them on your bathroom mirror or wherever if you do coffee in the morning, your fridge, somewhere where you're going to see them, because it's not an instant decision. It's something. It took me about a year of exploring before it hit that this is the direction I was going to go in with when it came to LAVE Wash. And it took me 12 years with academic beginnings, or AKA Tiny Town, before going in. So this is, building a purpose-based business isn't about quick. You want that impact to be there. You want to make sure you are actually finding your people. And that's another thing is it's not going to be for everyone, but you will find your people. So just hold on and keep going and be, pure at heart with what you're doing and what you're choosing to do. And yeah, so I definitely want everyone to be able to look at those questions.
Fantastic. Yes, I will share the questions that Nikila provided together with the recording of this session and the survey as well. Um, let's see, we have from Anna. I've been Googling what businesses can you start with an RN license, but there are a lot of generic IV infusion, etc. But I'm looking for something that really pings my heart. Yeah, I think those questions that Nikila provided are a good start. But
Mhm.
Nikila, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
So Google will be hard to find your purpose because it is very generic. Uh, I would I would suggest if you want to continue it aligned with your current studies, is to continue looking for a gap. When you're at work, there is something that you see that is not being done. There's something somewhere, and you may complain about it all the time, or the other RNs may complain about it all the time, and you don't realize that 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 is the purpose, and a lot of times it is centered around care, or it's centered around efficiency with care or something of that nature. So it just requires you just being more aware of what's being said. I did see there was another question here. How
Um,
do you balance the authenticity with growth when scaling a purpose-based business?
there we go.
Yes.
Yes.
So the way that you balance, okay, so first you have to come out of that mindset of the businesses of the past. The business of the past just told you go for it, like no matter who you run over, go, go, and just keep running them over and just keep doing it and keep taking and keep. But that's not what a purpose-based business is. So the way that you balance it is it first you have to be true and honest with yourself. That's why I said honesty and truth is number one. And when you realize again that you will not service or cater or provide a product for every single type of person, you will find your people, then you will be okay and more confident with that. I, there are a lot of people that are saying like, oh, I'll pass up your cards, I'll do this and that, and that's fine. But my businesses, they call out to certain people. And when those people find me, they stick. We have customers that stay for years because they know that our mission is real, that we're telling the truth about what we're doing. They see us out in the community doing the things, whether it be a community cleanup or sitting on a board advocating for something. And as we start to grow and more people start to realize, because it takes your clientele, they're going to start to find you based on your values. Those are your people. Those, so you just keep going. You just keep going and keep putting your mission out there, and eventually they start to find you. So again, it's not about fast growth. It's not fast. It's not quick. You have to take that time to just keep putting it out there. This is what we're about. This is what we're about. I received an email actually last week, and the first line of the email, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was they were preparing to start service, and the first line was something to the extent of, I love, uh, she didn't say I love your mission, but she loves how we cater to environment and care. That was the first line. And uh, and it's like there, it clicked. So as things are starting to change and people's psychology and their eagerness for connection and wanting the brands that they support and their dollars that they're working so hard for to align with their values, you will find your people. Keep growing, keep scaling. If you scale too fast, you're gonna burn. The LAVE Wash, that business is 10 years old this year. When I started that business, there were other businesses similar without a mission, without not a mission, without a purpose that had received millions of funding. We received none. They are all gone, and we are still here celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year. So be for real, be true, and be authentic, and your people will find you, and they will support you, and they will stand by you. They will go out there and advocate for you. Uh, so yeah, that's how you do it. You got to be real. That's the only way I know to do it. Yes.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yes, you can definitely tell when it's authentic. Myself as like just when I am, choosing whether or not to shop somewhere or buy something, especially as a mom, you can tell which brands are authentic and what they're selling and which aren't. So definitely agree with you that that's something that consumers are definitely thirsting for is like companies that, walk the walk, as they
Yes.
say.
Hmm. Yes. And they will research. So
Exactly,
you
right.
so,
Exactly.
start with that. Start with that. And I know, a lot of people are eager to get started on their entrepreneurial journey. And but it is something that you grow. It really does become your second child or first child or your child, and it's something that you take and you raise it. You care for it, and it's not just getting it out there. Those days are over. You're gonna burn your business down. Someone said here, I love this statement. They said they love that we're tapping into the cultural shift of purpose-based business, and it's about resonating with customers with an invitation rather than a demand. And that is true. Yes, it's definitely about inviting. Come join me over here, and we are all together on this. Yes, and I'm sure after this discussion, many of you will look a little different at some of the brands that you support as well. And is it based on tradition? Are you just always doing it, or do they align with your values? And you'll also start to notice how many brands you've chosen due to value, due to them being aligned with something that is positive for humans or nature or whatever your values are. You'll be amazed to see how many you've already chosen that you didn't even realize you were choosing.
Exactly. I was already thinking of a few brands during your presentation. Um, yeah. I'm going to share Nikila's LinkedIn here in the chat just to make sure that folks have that. Also, pull up your slide again. Looks like we have another question. Are there any resources that helped you align with creating a purpose based business and conscious entrepreneurship?
So, resources. Okay, so the best thing to do is again to find your people, but this time not your consumer base, but other businesses that you look up to. So what I did uh, was I looked at case studies of businesses that align with purposes that I believe in, but it may not be my purpose necessarily, but I admire. I looked at, I have lots of books, as you see. Some of these here are about green business and businesses that support environmental when I was building LAVE Wash. Um, Tiny Town Solano, Academic Beginning has been around for a while, but Tiny Town Solano just opened last year. But I do have some on child development and things of that nature too. And I subscribe to magazines or newsletters that align with the purposes and or businesses that align with what I believe are good values as well, and that I may want to associate with, because then you start to live it instead of just again cosplaying it or dressing it up. It becomes a part of everything that you're doing. You're standing in the aisle looking at the back of bottles. You're checking to see what brands are. You can't do it with everything, but you just become more conscious and aware of how you're spending your dollars and who you're spending them with. But that's what I did. I surrounded myself with even if I couldn't speak with them on the phone, I surrounded myself with other businesses that were on the same, uh, mindset as I was. I made sure I, consumed literature and writings and audio that aligned with that. So that way I kind of immersed myself in it.
That's great advice. Yeah, definitely. I always encourage cold outreach on LinkedIn. So like if you know of any businesses that align with your values, like why not send them a message and see if they're willing to like hop on a call just for like an information session. Or I mean, I shared Nikila's LinkedIn here in the chat, but I'm sure she'd be more than willing to connect with anyone that, is looking for um some guidance on like where to get started. And
Yep.
podcasts.
And
I feel like there's good
yes,
podcasts out there.
yep, podcasts and also my calendar's beeping. Also nonprofits. That's what I was thinking. Yes, reach out to nonprofits that might align with, because they always need volunteers. That helps you get your feet in there and really get the real life experience on some of the, issues or values that you may have. Whether it may not always be an issue, it just be a value alignment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So get in there, get some work done.
Yes, yes, love it. Um, does anyone have any other questions? As I mentioned at the top of the session, we are recording, so I will send out this recording just after we wrap up. And Nikila has been so kind as to create a resource for after this session, so I'll be sending that out as well. Okay, looks like we got another question here. Um, what challenge would you warn yourself about 10 years ago, and how does that focus on your view now? Great question.
Oh, that is a great question. The challenge I would have warned myself about 10 years ago would be the people that don't understand your mission or your values. And that's not to say that they don't understand the needs or the necessity of it, but more so they don't understand why you're making that front and center of your business. They don't, because we are humans too, and psychology is a thing where, or there's a part of psychology where, what your sphere of influence and the people around you do start to weigh in on your ideals, and that could just be it doesn't have to be like family and friends. It's just anyone there. What you're consuming again online and everything like that as well. And how does it focus my view now? Now that I have made it to the 10-year mark, I'm happy that I was true to myself and I stood on my values and I didn't let it waver and I didn't follow the trends. I didn't allow anyone to tell me that no one cares about what I care about because I didn't need all of the market share. I just needed my people. And we have been very successful um, with that, very profitable with that. And we have continued to grow. And we have had people that are organizations, if not people, but organizations that and other businesses that align, and together we get stronger. And you make that network there. So I think that's what I would warn myself about. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, fantastic answer. And it's like you said, I think during your presentation, you're it doesn't have to it's not going to be for everyone, right? And that's exactly to your point, just that, it'll resonate with the ecosystem and the consumers that it resonates with, and that's who you really want in your your community and your ecosystem.
Yes, yes. And the most important thing is impact, positive impact, making it better for everyone, you know. So not causing harm, being true to yourself and to the community that you're serving. Yeah.
Amazing. Great. Well, does anyone have any other questions? Here, I can share the slide with Nikila's contact information.
Yeah.
But before I do that, just because I won't be able to see any other questions, does anyone have any other questions that they want to ping in the chat? I also
And I
wanted to
can put an
share,
email in.
yeah, I have Nikila's LinkedIn here in the chat, and then I will also share the survey link that I mentioned. So if everyone, after this session, it just takes a couple minutes to fill out. I'll also send it via email. Let's see, anyone else have any other questions? And just make sure I can pull this up so you will have it. Can you see my screen? Hopefully. Great. Awesome. Well, I guess we'll wrap up today. This was such a fantastic session. Thank you all so much for joining and just for your great questions and engagement in the chat. Big thank you, Nikila, for sharing your knowledge and your time and insight and experiences with us today. I learned so much just as a co-host, so really appreciate you for taking the time and so glad to have you as part of the WGU community. I will be sending out the recording for this event shortly, along with the worksheet resource that Nikila created. I'll also share the questionnaire. Yeah, it just takes a couple minutes to fill out. Your feedback is so valuable to us, so we really appreciate it. If you all could take the time. Don't forget to check out some other upcoming Winter Career Quest sessions. Tomorrow we have a fantastic lineup of topics and employer partners, including Southwest, Encore, CSUSA, and Great Hearts Academies. We hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, your afternoon, your evening, depending on what time zone you're joining us from. And we look forward to seeing you at a future event.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you everyone for attending, and I look forward to continue the conversation.
Thank you.